This conference will now be recorded.
So everyone, good evening or good morning. This is Satish from Isha Training Solution. Very quick introduction about me. I'm in the IT field for last 15 plus years, spread across performance testing, mainframe development, performance engineering, and the product development. Right? So across 15 years, I've been part of all these streams. Okay, and I've been with training for the last 3 plus years. Been involved in multiple trainings from engineering, DevOps, end user experience, K6, Linux, right? So all these various subject I've been taking the training from Isha, right? And this particular training batch is going to be for the performance engineering. And so today, what we will do is, I'll for the initial part of the session, I'll go over the topics, okay, which we are going to learn as part of this batch, and then I'll walk you through some of the things that you might need to have it in your laptop, so that you can also do an hands-on during your free time. Okay. Okay. So I believe most of you have joined this call. You might be already doing performance testing, some level of monitoring or analysis, or you might be part of testing automation or manual testing, a test lead, uh, who wanted to probably upskill yourself in the performance area, right? So pretty much I would say, when you'll be doing your apart from those automation team or test leads, right? If you are a performance tester, you might be doing scripting using Jmeter or LoadRunner. You might be doing executions, some level of analysis, but you might not be involved in, say, with the monitoring strategy, or you might not be part of doing some early performance engineering, bottleneck analysis, EDMs, thread dumps. There might be separate team who will be doing it, or it is not even there it might be in the project, right? The development team takes care of all these deep dive analysis. Okay, so now, what we wanted to do is, from this current state where you might be 1 year experience or 5 year experience or 8 year experience, where you do only testing, scripting, execution, analysis. What we want is, through this course, we want you all to get upskill to engineering area, right? So wherever you go in the interview or to the other projects, you should be able to go and sell yourself, saying that I do testing. Apart from that, I also know the all the various engineering activity that is part that has to be there in any project, right? um, from a server side profiling, client side profiling, heap dump, thread dump, analyzing the AWR reports, using the tools like JProfiler, JVisual VMs, and then to benchmark and tune your JVM, um, doing a deep dive diagnostics and monitoring using APM tools, monitoring using some of the open source tools. So all these areas, you should be able to go and say that confidently, I can do all these things. You might not have live experience in your projects, but you should be able to still go and say, I have learned all these things using a live application, using the code. I have done all these things by myself and so on, right? So, which means the person who is going to take you to a project or to a company, you know that yes, you are not experienced in projects for engineering, but you have taken an additional step where you have done all these things by yourself against a proper application or against a proper code, right? That will put you very well ahead, come in compared to the other people who just know or talk about only the testing. Okay, so that is the intention of this course, where you should be able to go and you're not going to go and sell yourself as a 3 year 5 year engineering resource, right? That is not the objective. It is more like you're strong in performance testing. How can you call yourself as a performance engineer though you don't have an experience having hands-on in all these areas? That is the objective of this course. Okay? If you are new to performance testing or new to performance itself, right, all these things whatever you're going to learn, it's definitely going to give you a very very good exposure to the entire performance area, right? If you're a test lead, again, if you're test lead, test manager, you might not get into the ground level, right? You might be managing a team with performance testers and performance engineers. So to know what they do, how they do, is very important from a test manager perspective. So if you're a test manager or a test lead, without a performance experience, this will give you a very good idea about how performance project will be doing this engineering activities, right? So that is the objective of this overall course, intended for a performance testers, also intended for your test leads or test managers. Okay, yeah. And when it comes to performance engineering, there are, I would say, there's no uh, definition or rule. If you put across, there are four aspects. One is testing, which is something already you might be doing it, okay, performance testing. And programming, it is good to have, right? Since we are going to do a testing on the software, which is nothing but a code written in Java or a .NET or a Python. If you know any of the programming language, right, it will help you to go and talk to the developers, architect, in a more confident way, right? It is not it won't be a black box. You will know what you're talking about, right? So it is not must to have a programming knowledge, but it is good if you have that knowledge. It is good, or at least get to know certain things um, about the programs, how a program is created, what is the structure of the program, what is class, what is object, what is method, how multiple classes are going to be called inside an application. That idea at least you should have it, so that it is not a completely black box. Okay. And then little bit about networking administration is required, because in today's world you need to go and install your tools, softwares, configure certain things. So you cannot go and rely on your other teams, development team, to do all your deployments or starting your server, everything, right? So you should be able to freely go and take any softwares, install it, configure it, restart your service, configure a heap, configure a threads, all these administrative work. You should be able to do it, right? And that's not a rocket science anyway. With experience, with confident that you can do it, you will be able to do it. And then comes your system analysis, right? That's a bigger picture. System analysis contains everything, right? From reviewing your system architecture, system design, conducting memory leak analysis, CPU profiling, heap dumps, thread dumps, AWR analysis, JVM benchmarking, database analysis, client-side profiling, or everything put together is a system analysis. You're analyzing your softwares, analyzing your system, right? That's a main part anyway, which we are going to learn. So performance engineering is going to be combination of all these things, okay, which is going to spread across your SDLC. See, one more advantage or one more uh, importance of engineering is testing is going to be confined to a particular uh, testing cycle, right? If you're a tester, you might be getting involved. Say if it is a 2-year project, okay, and as a tester, you might be getting involved maybe an after year, where you will start doing a scripting and execution, and then moving out. Whereas a performance engineer is going to be pretty much there all over the end to end, right? If you are a very experienced performance engineer, you will even get started at the beginning itself to understand the business requirement, understand what the product needs, and review the architecture, review the design to make sure that the expectation of the business is getting met with the design, right? or at least if you're not an architect, or if you're not a experienced performance engineer, you will get involved at least during a development stage, right? During a development stage, as and when your services are getting developed, as and when your pages are getting developed, right, you will get involved in doing the CPU profiling, making sure the response times are good, making sure that memory leak analysis is done for each of these APIs or functionalities, client side analysis, testing the component like MQ or of Kafka, right? So pretty much you'll be involved right from a development stage till it goes to production and even post production. So being a performance engineer, your relevancy, or you will be more relevant to the entire life cycle when it compared to performance tester, who would be more confined to a particular 3 months or 5 months 5 months period, right? And now with even more AI, Gen AI, ChatGPT, all these things, right? Your scripting is almost getting automated, right? Um, so which means most of your effort would get reduced. AI tool is going to generate you the script. You don't need to go and sit and do all these things. That might be the future. So if you're going to be a performance engineer, you're going to be relevant more and more in the life cycle. Okay, that's a very quick introduction about why do you need to expand your skill set from testing to engineering, right? So in the course of next 4 5 weeks, right, these are the various topics that you'll be learning. I'll go over one by one, little brief. um, as I was mentioning, programming is going to be good to have. What we'll do is we'll have basics of Java and JVM. In Java basics, we'll go over um, creating small programs, understand how a Java application is will be created, how the classes will be created, what is method, what is object, how to create multiple classes and call each other, how to do a DB connection, how to do a HTTP connection, how to compile it, how to create a jar, how to create a var, deploying it to a Tomcat. We're not going to be a developers after this this particular topic, but we want you to go and talk to the developers more confidently, right? We don't want to be a black box. All the engineering activity, you will be going and saying that there is a problem with your package, problem with your class, problem with your method, problem with your object. When you go and say those words, terminologies, you should know how it is going to look like. It should not be a Greek or Latin for you, right? When a developer is going to question you back, you should be able to go and talk to them more comfortably. So from that perspective, we'll go and learn Java basics and the JVM basics. Okay, so we'll use Eclipse. Practically we'll do hands-on creating those programs, compiling it. And from there, we'll go on to the we'll assume that you're going to be in a project where um, um, application is newly developed, and you will be part of that project where you'll start doing the engineering activities. Okay. So what we'll do is I have a sample application. Let me share the application. It's an e-library application where you'll be able to log in and then create a librarians, and then you can log in as a librarian and then look into what are the books available, to whom it is issued. Let me just go over this application very quickly. We'll log in with this. So this is an Java application deployed in a Tomcat, and it has an MySQL database um, as a backend. Okay, I think MySQL might have been stopped. Let me start my MySQL as well. I think I was running some test before this, so it is giving some exception saying too many connections. What I'll do is I'll go and kill my instance, and then I'll go and start the Tomcat. I'll go over all these things in detail, how to deploy a war file, how you will set up these things in your mission, right? I'll go over that little detail as we go along tomorrow, day after. But for now, for you to understand what kind of application you will be using it for your hands-on, I just wanted to start this application through a Tomcat, and let me quickly go, and which means in your laptop, right? I would want at least certain things to be installed, very basic things, nothing fancy, nothing complicated, definitely. So MySQL is already running. What I would need from you is mission, Java, Eclipse. Eclipse is also an optional. If you don't want to go into code and then create a war, deploy it, you don't need to have an Eclipse also. At least Java, you should have it definitely. You should have a Tomcat. Okay. And then as we move into each of the session, you might need Visual VM. You might need JConsole. You might need JProfiler, right? So all these things are all either open source or trial versions are available. Whatever we learn, either whatever I do in my laptop, you'll be able to do it because everything is open source or it's all trial version. Be it is AppDynamics, be it is Dynatrace, be it is InfluxDB, Telegraph, Grafana, JProfiler, all these tools, whatever you use it, either it is going to have a trial version which you can use it on your own, or is going to be a completely free. Okay, so at least for you to practice it, we would need a mission with Java and Tomcat to start with. Okay, now let me go and again. Yeah, probably it is a little slow. So as we enter into these engineering sessions, we'll also try to see if it is slow, why it is slow, how to troubleshoot the problem, where to go and look into these logs, how to profile it. We'll see it as we move along. Okay, so this is one of the login where you can go and look into the existing librarians. It's an e library, right? So you can go and look into the existing librarians, and let me copy this one of the email IDs so that we can log in with this as well. And if you want to go and add a librarian, you can go and add a librarian. Now you can do a logout, and then I can go and log in as a librarian where you will have some more transactions, right? So while we do the engineering, we'll go through a couple of transactions. If it is response time is high, we'll go and analyze those response time, and we'll analyze the memory footprint of these transaction. So we'll use this application as a live application through which we'll go and do all the testing and analysis and engineering, right? Here you can go and look into the books that are already available, and you can go and add a book, and you can go and return a book. So all these things are all issue the book. All these transactions are all available as part of the your application. Okay, this application you can install it in your machine as well. I will provide you the war file. You just need to download the Tomcat. I'll provide you access to my Google Drive. Okay, so in the Google Drive you will have all the softwares which you can download it, and also the corresponding war files which you can download and then start this library application from your machine itself, right? So I'll tell you how to do it as we move along. So whoever is registering to this course, they'll get access to this drive as well. Okay, um, yeah. So going back to the topics, um, the thing which I wanted to highlight is we will have this application as the mode of learning your engineering topics, from analysis, from a testing, from a profiling, right? All these topics we'll use this application as the base for learning. Okay, and so which means, yeah, for this application we will, if the response time is high for a login, or if the memory is high for your view library and transaction, right? We'll go and test and find problems, and then understand why where it could be a problem. We'll use the tools like JProfiler, your access log, developer tools, JConsole, JVisual VM. All these tools we'll use it for doing the response time analysis, CPU profiling, memory leak analysis. We'll also try to understand what is heap, what is stack, what is the difference, how it is related when it comes to garbage collection, and then learn about garbage collection concepts, various collectors, various tuning flags, when to use those tuning flags, what are the various segment in your GCs from young generation, old generation, how to control the size of these generations, various collectors, heap dumps, right? All these topics will go over one by one as we move along. Right? So, in general, when you take any application, right, um, you need CPU power, you would need memory to store your processing data temporarily, right? When you do 7 plus 5 is equal to 12, you need to store 7, you need to store 5, you need to store the output 12 temporarily, right? For all these operations you need a memory, right? And to do this processing you will need CPU power. So to keep it very simple, even to do an addition you need a CPU power, you need a memory. So your application, any application you take it, it is going to be bounded by CPU, bounded by some memory, right? And if you go one level top, you're going to have threads which is going to handle parallel task, right? You have multiple threads handling multiple tasks. Every thread is going to occupy CPU, every thread is going to occupy heap, right? So everything is going to be around these components, right? You have to configure threads, you have to configure the heap, you will have underlying your CPU, and your performance issues are going to come in if any of these things are not wisely used or not enough, right? Either you might in the code you might have a problem because of which you'll have a thread problem, you'll have a ICP usage, or you'll have a memory problem. That is because of the code problem. Other way around, capacity, you might not have enough CPU, you might not have enough memory in your RAM, you might not have enough thread configured, right? One is a capacity problem, one is your code problem, right? So we will talk about it in detail when we talk about benchmarking your server, benchmarking your JVM, how all these factors will come into um, consideration, right? So we'll go over, that's how even the structure of the course, right? You will do the response time analysis. More you optimize the response time, your CPU time is going to get reduced, CPU will be wisely used. More high response time, more CPU involvement. So optimizing your response time is very important. And same way, analyzing your memory, if there is any memory leak, you need to arrest that leak, right? So lesser the memory, again the capacity is going to increase. Same way, from a thread perspective, right? How wisely we are going to use a thread, what are the various thread contentions, how to analyze the thread state, thread dumps, right? So CPU, response time, memory, thread, all these things are going to be part of your early performance for every functionality, for every page, every API, before you do a proper load testing. So all these things whatever I'm talking about, nothing to do with your load, it's all single user analysis that you will do it um, early in the life cycle, right? For a single user, analyze the application, analyze the functionality, make sure that it is optimized. Once it is optimized, then you will go for a load test, where under load test you will still have some more problem with respect to configuration or a capacity. There, when you do a load testing, you need to have a proper monitoring strategy. So we'll learn about how to create a monitoring strategy, how to read your architecture and create a monitoring strategy, and how to monitor your application during load testing using AppDynamics. We'll go in detail to the AppDynamics, understand how to configure your AppDynamics with your Java application, what are the various activities that you do it from a diagnostics perspective, from monitoring your JVM, your thread utilization, GC, right? How to set alerts. All these things we will learn through AppDynamics. And also one more open source monitoring called TickStack or Grafana, right? We'll use Telegraph and Grafana to monitor your infrastructure. No more you need to go into Perfmon or VMstat, top command, right? It's all manual work. How to automate your infra monitoring using this Telegraph, Influx, and Grafana, right? So we'll one by one we'll go over as I was speaking in the topics, right? We'll just go from early performance, profiling, your leak analysis, threat contentions, heap dumps, threat dumps, monitoring strategy, monitoring using AppDynamics, monitoring using open source, and then one more layer is always going to be a database, right? Which is again from a performance perspective, though from a database, DBs are going to be there for tuning or for your configuration of your memory. Everything will be taken care by DBs. But more, you as an application performance engineer, what is your role in database analysis? What are all things you will look into the AWR report? What are the important metrics like your buffer cache or your parsing efficiency, art parsing, soft parsing, buffer cache hit ratio, DB time? So all these things are from application perspective. We'll go and learn. Right? So after going through all these things, then we will go and look into the our typical engineering strategy would be written. You will have test plan, right? Similarly, for engineering plan, what are things needs to be considered? How do we go and write an engineering strategy? What is non-functional requirement? Our non-functional requirement has to be gathered. You might be doing already since you're a tester, but how do you do a proper NFR gathering? How do you do proper understanding of your various business scenarios? So we'll look into more from as a performance engineer. We will focus on the NFR, right? So all these things are all more from the engineering aspect. Additionally, even though you go and say I know all these engineering activities, um, more or less every interviews everywhere you people talk about DevOps, how you do performance testing in DevOps, what are those best practices. So we'll go over the introduction to DevOps, understanding the myths, understanding what can go wrong, um, what needs to be considered, um, to make your performance testing successful in a DevOps, what has to be done, right? So we'll go over the introduction to DevOps. We'll also look into Jenkins Jmeter integration. And similar to DevOps, you also everywhere you see that cloud, right? Last 3 4 years 5 years, and your on-prem applications are getting moved to cloud because of a lot of reasons, right? Cloud is going to give you flexibility, it is going to save you infrastructure cost, it is going to reduce your operational overhead. So when we move to cloud, obviously there is a myth saying that when apps moves to cloud, we don't need performance testing because cloud is going to take care of the performance. Is it real? How to handle those situation? What is the difference between performance testing or engineering on-prem versus cloud? What is auto scaling? What is resiliency? What is chaos testing? What are the additional scenarios you might have to do it in cloud, right? How performance testing or engineering is even more relevant or important in cloud? All these things we will learn. Okay. And from a production side of it, right? From an engineering perspective, it is not only pre-prod. Even in production, you should be doing certain analysis, right? Using rum tool, using synthetic monitoring tool. See, we will use Dynatrace for synthetic monitoring tool to understand what are all things you need to take care from availability, from end user experience. So we'll go and create scripts using synthetic monitoring tool, configure it, and analyze it. Okay. All these things again more from making yourself future ready, right? If you're going to talk about all this testing plus engineering, and you're also going to say that you've done some hands-on in DevOps, synthetic monitoring, and you know very well about what happens in cloud, right? And that's all you need to have a complete package when you stand in front of an any interview panel. Apart from that, we all know that Linux is going to be your preferred OS when it comes to actual application. Though our learning of the sessions are going to be in Windows, we want you to know what happens in Linux, right? How to install softwares in Linux, how to monitor using Linux systems, how to run your Jmeter test in Linux. What are those various Linux commands, right? So we'll provide you the videos, 8 hour, 6 to 8 hour of recorded videos of my sessions for Linux. And also, one thing I missed is the client side performance, right? We also will learn client side performance. What are the metrics? How to test it? How to analyze it? What are the various optimization you can give it from a client side? As one of the topic. Okay, so while we learn these things in the course, there's one more thing that is required is to automate this client side performance. Okay, so that again is going to be one of the bonus topic. You will get a recorded video where you will be able to understand how you can use Selenium for automating this performance, client side performance. Okay, so yeah, put together, this is what we are going to learn in the next um, uh, 4 to 5 weeks or 6 weeks. Okay, so more or less you're going to, the way we are going to do is using that application, we are going to build it, deploy it. I have this code as well in the Eclipse. Let me open it quickly. If somebody wanted to probably add the code as well with you, so what I will do is I'll go and create some performance issue in certain code. That is what I'll be deploying it, and then testing it, and then finding a problem, and then we'll go to the code, fix it, and then redeploy it. Right? It's a typical journey that you do it in the project as well. Developer will give a war file. You will test it. You will find a problem. You will observe certain things. You will provide the observations, analysis. The developer will go and fix it. We will try to simulate that kind of an environment here as well. Okay. Um, the sessions are going to be between 9 to 10 p.m. Same time we connected today. So it is going to be a similar way. And end of the session, next day, I think there's somebody trying to question, ask a question. Um, okay, I'll mute them anyway. If you wanted to ask questions, you can feel free to ask the questions or put it in the chat, or you can unmute and ask questions. So next day, every session will be recorded, and the next day you will get the recorded videos available. Right? Once you register it, say for example today, you will get a recorded video tomorrow before noon, so that you can look into it, learn, practice using the recorded session. And that recorded video is always going to be available for you ever. There is no expiry. Right? After the batch completes, you will have these videos uh, for your reference for 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever it is. Right? So that's how we are going to operate. Every day the session is going to be between 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. And the next day you will get a recorded video, and all the softwares, all the required artifacts, be it is a Jmeter script, or response time analysis documents, whatever the artifacts we create, it is going to be here, right? All the softwares whichever you want to download, it's going to be here as well. Your Tomcat, your Eclipse, MySQL, um, all the artifacts that is required for you to install or read through, you will get it here in this drive. Okay, I'll take a pass here, guys. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, or you can probably unmute and ask the question as well.
So are we, question, are we gonna, you're gonna demo how to download all these things, or we should have all these downloaded and be ready for the...
I will have a session or a video shared with you. So basically, I mean, the softwares are not going to be too much complicated to install, right? Java is something you might be already having it. Tomcat is more like you download and unzip it, and Eclipse is again you're going to unzip it, like a JMeter, and then tool like JProfiler, JVisual VM, all these things are all pretty much just you click, it is going to work. So nothing complicated. Only the MySQL database that is required for an application to work, that will have a couple of steps for which I will guide you. So wherever there's a guidance required, I'll guide you. But otherwise, I'll provide an instruction on how to install these things.
Okay, also, I forgot the question. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem.
So I do use Mac. Can we install these in Mac, or we have to have Windows to operate these
See,
things?
pretty much you can use Mac, but only because I haven't used Mac so far. If there's any problem, I might not be able to help you out immediately. But all these things are all compatible, right? Every tool, you should be able to install it in Mac. There is no way it is going to stop you. Just that you need to figure out something is not working. Maybe that might be some compatibility issue. You might need to work it out. Otherwise, you can pretty much use Mac. I don't see a problem.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Anybody else have any other questions? And I was trying to probably show the AppDynamics as well, AppDynamics or Dynatrace. Let me see if it is up and running. So this AppDynamics and the AppDynamics is the one which we use it for more from a diagnostics perspective, right? Monitoring and diagnostics. So this again, a trial version is going to be available for you. You can use your own organization email IDs. It won't allow Gmails. So you might need to use um, your own company's ID for registering it for a trial license. Okay, so trial licenses again, it's going to be applicable for 1 month or even more than that, right? I've been using this for last three and a half months. So you can set your own SaaS account. You're not going to install AppDynamics, entire AppDynamics. Nowhere we as a performance engineer will go and install AppDynamics, right? Uh, Admins are going to do it. You're going to get this URL like this. So you will get a once you register it, you will get a SaaS account, and then in our session we'll try to learn how to connect this SaaS account with this Java application in our mission, right? And then run some test and then go and monitor all the business transactions, your JVM, your heap, your GC, your thread utilization, database calls, remote services, right? All these things you would be able to go and monitor it and then do a troubleshooting as well. Okay. Similarly, this is for the more from an APM perspective, more from monitoring your server side diagnostics, right? And I was mentioning about production monitoring, right? Synthetic monitoring. So again, similar concept, Dynatrace as well. You can set up your own SaaS account by giving your email ID. You can create the SaaS account, and then using that, you can go and there's something called if you go to apps and you look for synthetic is the your synthetic monitoring in production, and you can go and create your own synthetic monitor for the website, whichever you wanted to create scripts and monitor. You will be able to do it. So yeah, these things again we will go into the detail when we get into each of the sessions. I just want to give a very quick overview on what are the tools we are going to use it, right? Pretty much as I mentioned, we'll be using Eclipse, Tomcat, JProfiler, Access Logs, Chrome Developer Tools, JProfiler, JConsole, JVisual VM, Eclipse Mat for EBDump analysis, Visual VM, Grafana. So every tools you will be able to install it on your own in your laptop, and then you will be able to practice it as we move along. Only my request is you listen during the session, and then later in the day or next day or on the weekend, at least practice once whatever you learn, right? So that you can confidently go and answer that in the interview, and also you can honestly say that you've tried it everything on your own, right? Even though you don't have a project experience, out of your interest, out of your passion, you've learned all these things and you've done it hands on at least once, right? That will give you more and more confident about when you go to interview and talk about all these things, right? So that's a request. So you go and install all these things. Probably we'll have a session tomorrow, and weekend you will have a get time where you can go and have your mission ready with at least the basic tools, so that from Monday when we start the proper sessions, you'll be able to practice it. Any questions if you have offline tomorrow also, tomorrow morning you can message me, the WhatsApp. I can try to answer it over the chat, or if you want to have a discussion to understand whether it is going to be relevant for you, whether it is it is good to take the session or not, right? If you have any questions around that, you can reach out to me tomorrow as well, or tomorrow also is going to be another demo session, so you can join, and if you have any questions we can also discuss in the call as well. Okay, again I will take a pass. Any questions here guys, please put it in the chat, or you can probably ask the question. Fine guys, if there is no question, I'll stop the recording, and we will meet tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.